Would you say non-league is low-level football?
There'll be a lot of Football League players that if you just chuck them in non-league, they'd never make it out.
You're actually probably going to look worse than you.
Yeah, because you might not even play it, because the manager looks at you and says, yeah, you're unreal in training, but when it comes to doing this...
Why are you trying to get off the keeper?
It's so easy to lose the belief and the hunger in non-league.
The lack of detail or what the managers are saying, it's just, I find it laughable.
The good players getting trapped happens a lot when players play for a team that doesn't suit their style. You'll see some players at step 1, 2 and 3 and think, he's a player.
Yeah. I see some players who I think just can't play football at all.
Yeah.
And then I find out after the game he's on £3 a week. Yeah. Do you think non-league is a bad place for academy footballers to go on loan?
This episode is sponsored by TornSports.com, and I've got a lovely pair of sliders here. Every footballer's dream. What else do they do, Lewis?
They do grip socks, all heights. So
nice.
They've got the ankle ones, and they actually do. I don't know. The footballers' trend these days is where they have the little cut in the back of their match day socks.
Yeah.
So they do them as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so they do plenty of different socks and obviously sliders. So.
That's sick. Yeah, these sliders are very nice. If you want to grab yourself anything, head over to TornSports.com and get yourself something nice.
Welcome back to Ball Talk with me, Lewis Bryon, and today I'm joined as always by St Albans striker Ken Charles. This is one of our insight episodes where we reveal the behind the scenes insights and secrets about the footballing world. So previously we've spoken about contracts, referees, and last week we had a sit down with Bournemouth footballer Antoine Semenyo. But this week we're going to talk all things non-league. Okay. Now I've played at Crystal Palace my whole life, so I've never played in non-league.
Yeah.
But you have. Would you say non-league is low-level football?
It depends. It's again, non-league's broad because technically step 1's non-league, and anyone who knows about step 1 knows that it's just as
step 1 being National League.
Being in the National League, it's the 5th professional division in the country. There's almost no difference to it in terms of money spent, in terms of quality to League 2.
Yeah.
So, but then the lower ends of non-league, i.e., I'd say step 5 and below, are probably low-level football. So, I mean, it's obviously lower on the pyramid compared to the top end of it in terms of the professional clubs.
So let's say step 3, 4, 5, or step 4 and 5. Okay. Would you say that's low level, or is it very it depends?
It depends. So I'd call it low-level football if we're being real. You're not seeing lots and lots of high quality, but you get gems, and it's not poor football because what people have it's not Sunday morning pub football. Everyone that's playing step 4, for example,
serious
has either had a season at an academy as a youngster, has had decent football education growing up.
They've been somewhere that they're good.
They're not. Yeah, they can all play football, and they all take it fairly seriously. So, yeah, the quality is lower, but it's not a joke.
Yeah. Thing is, you can get there's a local step 5 team, and the left back who you stopped playing now, but the left back who used to play there was part of the Invincible squad for a period of time.
Yeah, you said yeah, exactly.
So you can get people underestimate it. I definitely think because you can get players like that have played with the likes of Omri Bergkamp. You can get academy prospects on loan. I know even Premier League academy players can go on loan to non-league, and that's not the bad ones. Good ones can still do that. And then of course you can get the ambitious mid-20s player who think they've got the ability. So, and then of course you can get the players that are sort of don't really care about a football career. They're sort of doing it because they're all right at football. So it's you got so many different levels, so many different mindsets in non-league. So I think it's very easy to cast them as it's low level, which it might be, but there's definitely good gems in there.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
Do you think it's underrated?
I think it's massively underrated.
We touched on it a bit there.
I think it depends on who's judging. So again, young kids, I'd say academy kids from 12 onwards, you're not ever thinking you touch non-league. That's not the type of football you're considering. And then your casual fans that maybe just watch Premier League every week will probably underrate non-league. But you even saw with Tamworth, who played Spurs the other day, that's non-league, that's National League. 90 minutes, Spurs couldn't score.
Bring them on Astro. Stuff like that level the playing field. Bad pitches levels the playing field.
For sure.
It's meant to be Astro. but you do a 5-10 yard pass and it's bobbling up.
Yeah. You can see exactly. If they probably played at Spurs' ground, it would be a different story, I reckon. But the fact that they can hold them to 0-0 for 90 minutes, like your pub team couldn't do that. You know, your Sunday league team couldn't do that. Like those are actual footballers.
And that team only trains twice a week, by the way.
So exactly.
It's mad.
So and they've kept out Son, kept out Solanke, kept out Maddison.
Yeah.
Like these top Premier League players. So the difference isn't as big as people think. There's a difference, and there's no doubt about that. But it's not like a crazy difference. And like you said, you'll look at players in the Tamworth team. Some of them might have played in the Championship and League One.
Yeah.
Some of them will play in those leagues.
And just to show out like the level they showed against Tottenham at least. Like think of the millions and millions pumped into Tottenham for the staff, the players, the training grounds, and they spend all day with the best nutritionists. Yeah. And they got held to a 0-0 draw against people who train twice a week, work every day, and play on Astro.
Yeah.
Like the level can't be like as far off as people think.
Nah, it's definitely not.
No. And one thing I wanted to touch on, right? Do you think non-league is a bad place for academy footballers to go on loan?
This is a good question because it really depends. I'd say for the vast majority of players, it can't be a bad thing. It could only be a good thing because academy football, yes, you learn the foundations of football. You learn to be a good, you retain possession. You become a good technical player. But it's not the same as when you go and play men's football where 3 points are on the line and you do whatever it takes to win a football match. And you've got the pressure of a gaffer who's could get sacked.
Doesn't care you come from an academy.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas in your academy managers aren't getting sacked if they lose an academy game. Really, like they're not. Like long term, they might be judged on that, but in non-league, it's the exact same pressure as your Premier League, where if he goes 5-6 games without a win, all of a sudden fans are calling for him to be sacked and stuff. So from that perspective, it's important to experience that for academy players, I think.
Learning how to manage a game, like the dark arts, and actually playing to win.
And also, the biggest thing I'd say is, again, it's something you only realise when you get older in your football career, is that obviously, I'd say from a young age all the way till 18 maybe, all I watched was Premier League football. Yeah. And you're sort of conditioned to think that's football. I almost think that's a completely different sport to the rest of the pyramid.
It is.
The academy footballs, especially the top-end academies, is built off Premier League football. You look at the Championship, League One, League Two, you ever watch those games on TV, it's not the same. It looks completely different. And non-league's very similar to those leagues. So if you want to, obviously if you're going to play in the Prem, which is 0.01% of academy prospects, then perhaps academy football might be great for you. But for the rest of you who might play in the EFL, you need to experience that men's football in order to sort of bridge the gap between academy style of football and men's football. Yeah,
the only negative I see, well maybe two negatives, is like you said, if you're a player that a club wants to bring in, like they're so certain, right, he's going to play in our first team in 2 years, then going on loan to a non-league club, I think the benefits are minimal because like you said, it's a different sport. But if you're going to play even champ down to National League or like champ and below, that non-league is going to be vital for your progression in it.
Yeah, and that's why I said for the majority of people, it can only be a positive going on loan. But there are those odd players, for example, like you just said, if you're like a joke of a talented player and you're probably going to play in the Premier League, I mean,
may not be the best.
It might not be the best. Like if you go to a good non-league side, like, you might just rip it up.
Yeah,
no one will be able to get the ball off you. But then if you go to a team that's maybe fighting, they won't even see what you can do because it's not suited. So there might be players that aren't suited to non-league, but unless they're certain to play in the Premier League, I think it can only be good for them to go and experience the non-league and learn to adapt to that type of football. Because again, champ and below, it's
different
all a different ball game.
Yeah. But and the second negative I was going to bring up was, like, you can have a young, talented prospect in an academy, and they've got big ambitions. They're at the start of their career, and they go to non-league where 3/4 of the team could not have any ambition. You know, they could just be doing their 9 to 5, collecting a wage on the weekend, and it's not really. You're not in an environment where people are looking to succeed, looking to push on, like that. You know the saying, you're a product of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah,
like that can definitely have an impact on the player if they're there for a season. Like, it's going to be hard to keep the same motivation and sort of drive than if you were at a Premier League club.
I've seen that firsthand. I've seen like players who first time they dip into non-league, they're still ambitious, want to, work hard and make a move. And then within a couple of months of being in that environment, they start talking about, I could work a full-time job and earn a good wage at non-league and then be earning a lot basically, and thinking, what's the point working hard to try and push up the leagues? And like that can definitely happen.
Especially if they might get asked to move to Scotland to play in the third league.
Yeah.
Like
so there's definitely that. I guess that filters out those who really want it versus the ones who don't necessarily have that mentality.
Yeah.
It definitely improves your mental strength going into non-league, because it's a completely different type of test. Like, you're in poor conditions. You spoke about the people you're around. They're not like, it's easy to be in an academy where everyone wants to be a pro.
And you've got all the staff around you like looking after you. You feel like you're a first team player, basically. Even though you're not. You're miles off it. Let's be real. Like, a lot of the time you can be miles off it.
But then that's the problem. Sometimes
players need to drop their ego.
Exactly. Sometimes, like, we know if you're in an under 18 Premier League academy, still 90% of you won't play professional football, even at under 18s level.
Yeah.
So why would you guys be thinking you've made it, or why would you be feeling as though you're a first team player? I don't like. Sometimes getting the reality check of going into non-league can make or break you, but if you have the if you're
really going to make it anyway,
if you're going to make it anyways, it's going to make you realize this isn't actually what I want.
Yeah,
I need to get out of this type of football as quickly as possible.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong, it is hard because like
it's tough,
at Crystal Palace, you can be a 17-year-old as a scholar, go in 5-star, looks like a 5-star hotel. You've got chefs making you breakfast, lunch, and even afternoon food. You got a member of staff for pretty much every aspect of your life, like kits, strength and conditioning, warm-up, analysis, like literally everything. And then you want me to go and leave this to go play on some shitty pitch where I can't pass it without a bobble, and everyone there don't want to be a footballer.
It's mad. Like, that drop off.
But they need to do that.
You need to do it, but I always do, like, sometimes sympathise with the players that drop from the really top academies, like, because obviously, if you're at your EFL academies, it's not necessarily the same. But if you're coming from a Palace, an Arsenal, etc., and drop straight to non-league, like, the difference would be,
it's a shock,
drastic, and that probably breaks majority of players. That difference is enough to say, this football is not for me.
What I see the problem with a lot of young players is they look at these top players where they want to be, and they don't actually study or look at the route it takes to get there. Like, I'm a young 18-year-old, and I see, Declan Rice, or like, look at Peter Crouch. Even someone like Peter Crouch played for England, scored loads of goals for England, played in loads of Premier League teams.
Yeah.
You look at that and think, right, I'm going to be there. Why would I go to non-league? The amount of places he played before. He played non-league. He played National League.
Yeah.
Antoine Semenyo's another one. Played every single step. From National League South up, and now he's playing for Ghana in the World Cup and Bournemouth in the Prem. You have to go through that, and you need to study the route of how people got there, not just where they are and I deserve to be there, I'm going to be there.
Yeah. And people be surprised how many, like, Semenyo, we're only kind of talking about that now because he's doing well and you look at the route. Imagine how many Prem players, if you just went and looked through all their routes, how many of them have played as low as League 2, National League South, loans, etc. Like, they've all done it. Because it takes a special type of player to come through a Premier League academy and just break in without ever having to go.
Like, I mean, that's like
your Sakas.
That's like 1% of the pros in that club.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
That's the 1% of the 1%.
Yeah.
So the rest have to work their way up.
And you need a bit of luck for that, by the way.
Yeah, plus that.
You need the luck needs to meet the talent at the time.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not always like, if you can be just as talented as these players, but you might still have to go on loan because that route isn't there for you. But so that's why it's the 1% of the 1%.
Yeah.
So,
and that's exactly what happened with people like Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Tyreek Mitchell. Both come through the academy and got in the first team without really a loan. But Aaron Wan-Bissaka had I think there was 4 right backs or 4 full backs injured before they decided they had to put him in, and then he was unreal, and that's it.
Same thing happened with Rashford.
Yeah, Rashford, it's mad.
Rooney's injured, Ibro's, all these guys are injured, and then in the warm-up, Martial gets injured.
Yeah.
So he has to start now, and he scores 2, and the rest is history. Like, you do need the luck as well, and naturally, most people won't have that luck, so you have to work your way up.
Yeah, and what's the other option? If you don't go out on loan, you'll spend your years in the under-21s playing for the club. You get to 21, 22 years old, some people are.
No means experience.
No means experience. And then you go to these let's say, a League Two team who want to take someone on loan, they're probably going to take a 17, 18-year-old who's been at the academy rather than the 22-year-old. Let's be real, because the 22-year-old just spent his whole time in the academy. Like, it's almost their prospect time is done.
Yeah, exactly.
So you need to just bite the bullet and go play men's football.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, talking about non-league, what would you say changes as you go up the leagues? First of all, as you go up the steps from, let's say, step 5 to step 1, like, is that a big, like, what changes as you go up?
Yeah, so like I said, step 1 is pretty much just a extra League 2. Like, it's just pretty much no difference.
A lot of them are full time now.
All of them are like, apart from one or two, apart from Tamworth, pretty much, and maybe one other club. Everyone's full time. The budgets are huge. Everyone's earning like a full time wage. Whereas your step 5, I mean, the big difference is in everything. So wages naturally are much lower.
We'll get onto that in a second.
Yeah. Crowd sizes are usually a lot lower. Like at step 1, you see things like 6,000-7,000 at games.
That's insane, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's this 5th tier in England, whereas in like step 5 when I was playing, we used to get 100 max. Like that would be it.
But a lot of like seaside towns can get like 600, 800.
So you always get your outliers in each division where like you can still get a step 5 side that's in a seaside and they're still getting 800 fans.
Yeah.
I mean, but everything like pitch qualities are poorer. The lower you go down, the quality of football's lower. I think from step 3 and above, I think the quality is good because there's a mixture of ambition. You get a lot of players who have played the higher leagues, and you get a lot of players that want to play the higher leagues and are going to try and use these stepping stones to prove themselves. So therefore, the quality is good. You get a lot of players where you're like, he should be playing professional.
Like step 4 and 5, it gives me more vibes of like they're good players, but they're happy to stay where they are. Yeah, like there's no ambition in football. They've got a job.
I think you get your odd 17, 18-year-old, by the way, really young kid who isn't getting a shot at step 3, so he goes there to try and work his way up. But the majority of like men in step 4, step 5 are kind of there as I'm playing semi-pro. I'm going to earn a wage on top of my job. Whereas you go up the leagues and everyone takes it very seriously. Even like if you go step 2, step 3, people take gym seriously. Even if they're just, they've got a job and stuff, they still take their gym work seriously and stuff. Whereas you go down to step 5 and stuff, it's not really like that.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the wages now, okay? Because the wages, like they seem to be getting higher and higher for non-league.
Yeah.
And I mean, we could talk about like National League where you've had Wrexham when they were in it. Players are on 4K a week. But I mean, even if you go down to step 4, step 5 in the Skeffel League, like they're some of them teams have a budget of 6K, which is on average like £300 per player. If there was 20 players, some players will be on 100, some might be on 5. Like if you're playing in step 5, which we've spoke about isn't top level, like is low level football on average, right? You're earning £500 a week for training twice, and you're earning a full-time wage on top of that. Like you can see the appeal for it.
Yeah. There's like
the money in non-league is better than I thought it was.
Yeah. Well, that's another part of it that's underrated. Don't get me wrong. It's certain clubs. So like your step 5 that you just spoke about, that wouldn't be the average club. That would be like 2-3 clubs that pay a lot because they have ambition to move up.
And it's very it's very dependent. Oh, I mean, it sounds obvious on the owner. Like you can just get a rich owner who'll just be happy with the lower team. Yeah,
exactly. And obviously it depends on the player you are. Like a young player who's just been released by a club isn't going to go to a step 5 club and demand £500 a week.
Yeah.
Whereas someone who's proven he can score goals in step 3, a step 5 club might say, "Come, we'll double your wage to come and play for us and help us get promoted," for example.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, from step 1, obviously I said full time people can earn very good money there. Step 2 and above, people still can earn a really good wage that they can live off.
But you can actually if you're training a
lot of money from part time and
you can make more than the players above you. Do you know what I mean? Basically. If you're one of the bottom tier of full time footballers, you can actually make a lot more money if you just drop down one league and play in a part time setup, earn a little bit less money, and just get a full-time wage on top of it. It's a lot more work.
It's so common, the amount of players that do that. They literally, they say they've played in step 1 with the ambition of moving up, and then they realise maybe they're 26, 27, I'm not going to really play it in the champ anymore. Why don't I just drop down a league to a club that might pay me £200 less a week, but I'm going to work a full-time job on top of that. Then you're double what you was earning before. Players reject offers to go up because they're only going to earn £300 a week extra, but they'd have to quit their job. So it's so common for players to use non-league and playing part-time as a way to make a lot of money, which makes sense when you think about it.
And I watch non-league most weekends, and I step 5, and I see some players who I think like can't play football like at all.
Yeah.
And then I find out after the game he's on £350 a week, and I'm thinking, he's nicking £350 a week for doing that every week in, week out, shambles performance, and he's probably getting paid 30, 40 grand for whatever he's doing.
Yeah, for whatever job he's doing.
So it's. I mean, I like to see it, to be fair, but I do think some of the players are just like, how are you getting that much? Like, who are you friends with?
Yeah. I mean,
Billericay famously had a millionaire takeover, and it was like they had a 30 grand budget per week.
Their thing was crazy. I think they were step 3 at the time, and players were on 1,500 a week, 1,200 a week was like the average, which to play step 3 part time, it's mad. And some of them are, all of them working as well on top of that. So they're probably earning more from their part time 2 nights a week Saturday game than a lot of them would in their job. So that was mad, and obviously that was famous because the owner likes to talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get these a lot. Yeah.
Right, Ken. So, in your opinion, can good players get trapped in non-league? Like, because some players are convinced that they're too good for the level.
Right. Yeah.
And I agree. I think some players can be too good for the level. But if so, why do they struggle to get out? Like, players can definitely get sort of locked in.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it requires. We just know how saturated football is. I think that's all it comes down to. Like, you'll see some players at step 1, 2, and 3 and think, he's a player.
Yeah.
Could easily play.
You do see it. Even lower than that, you see it.
Exactly. But I was just saying, like, step 1, 2, 3, it's common. Like, you see half the team and think they're all players. And this is where they are. But it's like, right, the players above them playing in Champ League 1, League 2, they're also players.
Yeah.
It's not like they're not good. So the market is just mad saturated. So there's not that much room for players to move up unless you're really the standout player in your position in the league. That's basically what it comes down to.
That's it, isn't it? Like, you can be. It's a good point. You can be so good in the team, but there's so many other people that are good. Like
in the leagues above. So then it's like, right, you have to really stand out. So yeah, and I think the good players getting trapped happens a lot when players play for a team that doesn't suit their style. A lot of ball playing footballers, like midfielders, strikers, etc., can be stuck in a team or at a club where, because it's non-league, that's not what the manager's trying to do. He just wants to go long, play off second balls, just do all the ugly stuff. If you're a technical player, how are you ever going to show your ability in that kind of team? Yeah, you're not.
You're actually probably going to look worse than you.
Yeah, because you might not even play. Because the manager looks at you and says, "Yeah, you're unreal in training, but when it comes to doing this,
why are you trying to get it off the keeper?"
Exactly.
Like what you do,
or loose balls. You're not really putting your foot in like someone who's got half your talent. But he's going to go through another player.
Yeah.
The manager just turns around and plays the other guy. So those kind of young players can struggle. And then I think you need to be mentally so strong to get through non-league, to have that determination to be dealing with all of this and still want to pursue a career.
Want to pursue it and maintain the belief of it, though, I think.
It's both. The hunger to pursue, and you have to believe in yourself. If you don't, then you can't do it. And it's so easy to lose the belief and the hunger in non-league because you'll be in, like I said, you'll be in a team where you're clearly the best technical player, but you're not playing. How do you explain that to yourself? It's easy to just look at it and say, this is just not meant to be. And that happens. I've seen hundreds of stories of, players that talent-wise could easily have a top career, but they got into non-league and didn't ever maintain that hunger and belief that they could actually make it out.
Yeah, it comes down to like the cliche of how bad do you actually want it? Like everyone says, "I want it so bad," but are you, like you said, are you willing to just maintain the belief through whatever? Everyone saying you're bad. Everyone, like, no progression in years. Like, it takes a certain character to actually stick through that. One of the reasons I think players get dismissed, right? Non-league players get dismissed, is because you can be a top talent, right? But if someone watching sees you in that environment, like let's say I'm watching a step 5 team, and there is a top player there, but I see him in an environment like he's playing for a step 5 team, like automatically that puts assumptions that he can't be that good.
Yeah,
because it's like you're playing in step 5, you would be somewhere else, especially if they're not like 16, 17.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's very hard to get taken seriously sometimes.
Well, that's a big thing as well, yeah.
And then it's like any mistakes, it's like, right, oh, he's not good. Like he could be really, really good. One mistake, and you're like, yeah, that's why you're here. Yeah. Whereas you see someone have a mistake in the Champ or the Prem, you accept it a bit more.
Bang on. Like that's another reason why it's so tough to make it out. Is because you have to literally stand out. You have to give people
view it differently, don't they?
You have to give people no reason to question your ability. Like you can't play well once. You can't play well for 45 minutes. You've got to play well for 90 minutes week in, week out across the season to a point where clubs above now think, okay, he's really good and we need to take him. Because exactly, like you said, you play well for 2-3 games and then you have 2-3 games where you're off it. Yeah. And it's like, okay, that's why he's there.
It's
whereas
true.
In the Prem, it's like, oh, well, he's earned that. He's placed to be there. Like he's just having an off day.
Yeah.
Like, it's difficult.
A striker skies a shot. I'm probably going to say if he's step 5, I'm like, that's why you're step 5, mate. If Havertz skied the shot,
say that.
I wouldn't say that. Oh no, he's getting stick now.
Yeah, he's getting stick, but you're not saying.
I'm saying
that's why he's step 5. You're saying he's not good enough or whatever. But like, it's just a different view.
He caught it wrong.
Yeah. Or if exactly someone who perhaps knows football.
You're telling him how to shoot a ball.
Exactly.
You know
so it's difficult. It's like I always say, you have players that are in non-league, and in another life, if you place that exact same player with the exact same talent, just place them in a championship club, they'd be fine. They wouldn't look out of place. And the same goes the other way around. There'll be a lot of football league players that if you just chuck them in non-league, they'd never make it out. Not because they're not good, but just because it's so hard to make it out.
There'd be Premier League players that, like you said, in another life, if you chuck them in the exact same ability to non-league, they wouldn't make it out. And that is a reality. Like that's why football. It's obviously based on luck. It's based on timing, but I mean, it's ruthless.
Yeah, luck and timing is a huge part. Like talent, of course, like talent's important, ability is important, but timing and luck plays a huge part. Because otherwise, if you place those Premier players in non-league, they'd always make it out 10 out of 10, but they wouldn't.
No, it's not the
case. So
case.
many that just wouldn't be able to stand out.
Let's talk about managers, non-league managers. I'm sure you've got a few thoughts about them.
Yeah.
How do you think they differ in terms of like the football league managers? Obviously, probably game understanding is an obvious one, right? They'll have less hours learning how to coach, less hours coaching top players, and the players they're coaching is a different set of skill set, really. What differences do you see?
I think at the top end of non-league, again, you're step 1 and 2. It's probably the same thing as the players, but even harder in terms of you see really talented managers. It's even harder to make it up, I think, as a manager.
Yeah. Do you reckon harder than a player in non-league?
It's harder for a manager to be good and make a career.
Because how do you progress?
Exactly. I think the only way is really get promoted with teams, like with promotions, obviously get your name about, or have a team that's supposed to get relegated because they have the lowest budget and all of that, and you actually turn out to have a mid-table team. Then people take note, but that's so hard to do. Let's
just play that scenario out, right? Let's say a step 3 manager gets promoted with into step 2.
Yeah.
And then a step 2 or like a step 1 club is looking for a manager.
Yeah.
They might just go for some ex-Premier League player who's just come in and gone into managing, or an ex-Championship player, or a League 1 or League 2 manager that's just got sacked. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, it seems like an impossible route for me.
Yeah, I feel like with the players, as much as we say time and luck, etc., I do have a strong belief that eventually your ability will show, and it's show enough to the point where it's kind of, you can't argue with it. Whereas as a gaffer, it's hard because, like you just said, you can just show your ability by getting promoted. And he's like, well, Troy Deeney, ex-Premier League player, let's just bring him in. Yeah. He hasn't actually proven that he can be a manager.
Well, he's proven he can't be a manager.
Well, yeah. Well, he got the job he got at Forest Green, even that, it's like, why did he get that?
Off what merit? Yeah.
I'm sure there's so many managers in the National League North and South, who are way better coaches than him, have proven their worth as managers, but wouldn't have got a look in, and he just got the job. And again, like you said, proved that it wasn't necessarily the right decision in the end. So as a manager, it's even harder. At the top, so just to touch up on your point, at the top end, there are some really good coaches. Some coaches that know football. Again, in another life, if they were just given a job in the EFL,
or had a football career before,
they'd be fine. But lower down, it becomes a bit
There are some managers that are.
Yeah, I think once you go past, don't get me wrong, there'll still be your gems in the lower leagues, but once you go past, it starts
step 3, 4.
Majority are just like
Step 4.
They're just the owner's friend, or like, I don't know, just that's how it would be. The owner's friend, the owner's brother, something like that. He's just he can manage, and I mean, anyone can kind of select a team at that level. It's not that tactical. And it's like he just does a job.
The lack of, obviously, after being like coaching the Palace Academy for a couple of years, like you see the other side of it and you get taught certain things. And every time I watch, it's step 5 I watch, right? The lack of like detail or what the managers are saying, it's just, I find it laughable.
Basics. Yeah, we just the basics, like press.
No, it'll be like, you got to do better.
Yeah.
But what has he got to do better at, mate? Like, what you're saying to him has no effect. You're telling him he's got to do better, but you're not telling him any details or instructions.
He's got to do better as well. Like, you're not telling him anything he doesn't know. Like, it's
and that's the players as well, by the way. Like a lot of the talking from the players, the shouts are amazing. Like the standard ones.
No, step 5. I mean, I played there when I was 16. That was an interesting level. Like, it's. You get your odd gems, but other than that, it's pretty much just players that are there to be semi-pro footballers and earn a slight wage on top of their jobs, and the level isn't great.
Yeah. Did you find as you went down, like the lower you go, the managers shout more? It's in like it's more hairdryer treatment in the change room.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably like because they don't know what detail to give, so they're just frustrated and they just shout. Whereas your better managers aren't shouting for the sake of shouting. Like, they want to give information so you can actually produce on the pitch. Like, shouting doesn't do much.
If I had something that was going to actually give you valuable information and have a valuable effect on you, like in terms of detail, coaching, what to do, why things are working, why they're not, there would be no reason for me to shout to make that point come across, because what I'm saying would have weight.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're saying what you're saying doesn't have weight, that's when you have to start doing all this other stuff to try and make people buy into a load of bullshit, really. Shout and scream.
Yeah.
But it's just not really the way.
I think there's shouting. There's only there's. I mean, I guess half time your team's had a terrible first half performance. Maybe you come in and bollock them, and then like.
But if it's every week in, week out, on the sideline,
it should never be your character of you're always shouting. I think if you're doing that, then something's wrong in terms of your communication. But like, players, give them information that they can implement. Don't just shout.
And a lot of it, I think, is playing up to the crowd, the board, like the club, or everyone that's watching, to make him look like they're naive to it as well. A lot of the fans, so they're to make it look like I'm doing something instead of
it just makes him look like a gaffer, isn't it? And also, like you said, they're naive to it. So if you're a random fan who doesn't necessarily know what information a manager should be giving his players, you just see him shouting and think he's doing his job.
Yeah,
you don't actually you're probably one of the few people that look at him and think, what is he doing? Yeah. Everyone else probably thinks, he's telling them what to do.
Yeah, it's true, mate. We'll finish off on this, but do you think watching a non-league game can be more entertaining than watching a Prem game? Like, obviously you can get your odd ones out, but on average, what's more entertaining?
I hear this debate a lot because I hear a lot of fans that like non-league, they follow a non-league club, say this. I'd say, listen, potentially your step 2, step 3, step 1, potentially. But even then, I'd say no. Like, again, I find the Prem entertaining.
Yeah.
I watch the Prem because I feel like it's almost an art. Like, you see quality in every single player. You see things and you're like, they're playing football to the highest level. And I personally find entertainment in that.
So do I, yeah.
So therefore, it'd be impossible for me to find non-league more entertaining than the Premier League. But that's because I'm seeing it from a very specific eye. I'm seeing it from an eye of a player that wants to progress.
How can I get value from it? Like, it's not in awe, but like, wow, like I can really respect it.
Exactly. Whereas my dad, for example, always says that once he gets to like 60, 70 or wherever he's living, he'd probably just get a season ticket at the local non-league club and go and watch that because he enjoys football and he enjoys that. So it depends what you're trying to get out of the game. Like,
I think if it's funny, you go like, if you take the stadiums out of it, or like. Yeah, if you took the stadium away from Premier League games, I feel like a more entertaining in terms of funny watch would be like a Step 5.
Oh yeah. If you're just looking for a laugh, then you're not going to get a laugh at the Prem really, but you'd get a laugh at Step 5.
Or imagine a Step 5 was filled with 60,000. Like the crowd would be on them. Like it'd be mad.
Yeah. Because even we spoke about differences. Like things at Step 5, you see overweight players, for example.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. Like let me give you this scenario: Step 5, any team, or any combination of teams for a match. Would you rather watch that or Ipswich Southampton? If they're both in stadiums.
Again, I'm still watching Ipswich Southampton.
Nah, I'm watching Step 5.
Just because that
is Ipswich Southampton's going to bore me.
Yeah, no, I completely get it. I'm just saying because if 90 minutes of time that I want to waste watching a football game, I'll feel like I'd get value from the Ipswich Southampton game as a player.
Yeah, sensible head on.
Once I add 10 years to my life and I'm no longer a player, then I'm with you 100%. I'm like Ipswich Southampton.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get anything because I'm not playing, so that's dead.
Let's have a laugh.
I might have, exactly. I'll have a laugh. So it can be entertaining. I think a lot of people are pleasantly surprised when they first go to a non-league game and see that there's actually football outside the Premier League.
Yeah, for sure.